This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
You might have seen my previous videos about the ongoing gang wars in New York City. The famous war between Brooklyn's Wu and Chu alliances was all the rage after drill rapper Pop Smoke made sure that the entire world met the Wu. And more specifically, there was the battle between the Cho Blicky gang, aka the New York GDs, and the Crip-affiliated Movin' Gang, a violent hip-hop adjacent feud that turned gang-affiliated rappers Sheff G and 22Gs into drill music legends, with musicians from all sides of the war putting the pain that they had suffered in the streets into their music, and in the process making hit records that would generate big money in the music industry, and creating big opportunities to build legitimate businesses away from the hard life of crime they grew up around. But the question is, a few years on from gaining fame and fortune the hard way, how are the kings of Brooklyn drill music doing? Well, for some, it's been nothing but W's. But for others, cases have popped up threatening the very blessings that they had gotten out of the music game. So today, we're going to be taking a closer look at the biggest street rappers to emerge out of the Brooklyn drill scene, recapping their careers and taking a closer look at just how they've been doing over the past couple of years. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't wait to update you on some of the crazy going-ons from one of the most exciting subgenres of the rap game. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. Shout out to today's sponsor, yes. Raid Shadow Legends, to get started with one of the greatest mobile games of all time for free. Yes. Just use my links below to download Raid today yourself for mobile or PC. Let's get it. In the world of Teleria, there's a whole lot happening. Pull up and create your team, choose from over 600 champions, each with a unique history for you to learn from and get wiser. Just look out for their new crazy boss, a six-headed beast called the Hydra. Each head is a boss battle with unique effects, so beware. The head of Torment is terrifying, always applying that true fear. The only way you will escape is hiding your champion disappear. But to do that, you'll need veil buffs, which are very rare, very rare. And watch for the head of Wrath, because he is super mean. An angry damage dealer that will weaken and provoke your team. When it gets hit 15 times, it gets a new buff called Vengeance. Tripling attack power, that means in just one hit you could be ended. The head of Blight will poison you, but it protects itself with a poison cloud. So it's hard to hit, but weak to fire. Use HP burn to take it down. Look out for the head of Mischief, it targets the champ with the most buff. It steals your buffs for the other heads, don't get finessed, it's super tough. The head of Decay will tear you down and build up its own size. You lose HP when you're trying to heal, so watch out when you slide. The head of Suffering has a nasty debuff called the Pain Link. You'll take damage when you attack, you gotta be smart if you want the win. What's good about Raid for me is they give new rewards out every week. From fighting clan bosses and putting in work in the game with my team. This month there's tons happening, a bunch of new awesome champions releasing along with a brand new faction wars crit for the faction, the Shadowkin. There's also tons of New Year's tournaments and events where you can get Raid's newest legendary champions like at a special fusion event. So hit my link in the description or scan the QR code and you'll get a free starter pack worth almost $30 to kickstart your game. We're talking a free champion, Aina, 200k silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. All of this will be waiting for you here. It's that easy, just click the link in description and get started today. Thank you Raid Shadow Legends, and I'm out. Sheff G came up quick off the back of his street feud turned rap beef with New York GD rapper 22Gs. Sheff G's track No Suburban, a response to 22Gs' song Suburban, quickly put Sheff G on the map as a New York drill legend. And from there, he would build on his fanbase with a solid catalogue of regular releases, like his Unlucky Lucky Kid mixtape and a studio album called One and Only. And by the mid-2020s, Sheff G was firmly on the map as one of the biggest names pioneering the Brooklyn drill wave. Sheff G had truly made it, and if his music videos were anything to go by, the money was rolling in. From riding around in a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce in the Feel Away video, flexing wads of cash in Bentleys and Teslas in the We Gettin' Money video, and to driving what looked like his very own Rolls Royce Wraith in the music video for No Suburban 2. Things looked like they were going well, and it was clear that Sheff G was money motivated. And of course, one of the oldest mogul moves in the book for a young rapper that's blowing up in the rap game is to start their own record label. And behind the scenes, while Sheff G was rising in his own rap career, he was also starting off his own label, Winner's Circle Entertainment, supporting the careers of fellow New York drill rappers Sleepy Hallow, Hello, well known for his mainstream collab with Sheff G himself, the track Flows that came out in May 2019. That song sitting today at over 10 million views, and followed up by the big release of his Halloween 2019 mixtape, Don't Sleep. But the W's were just getting started for Sleepy Hallow, who would go on to release a booming sample drill track in April 2020, the Deep End Freestyle, which has racked up a whopping 46 million views to date, even landing at number 80 on the Billboard charts, and going platinum. Not bad for a freestyle. This hit track would live on his June 2020 mixtape Sleepy for President, and frankly, Sleepy Hallow was a big win for Sheff G and the Winner's Circle label, but Sleepy Hallow's success is hardly a surprise considering just how many times Sheff G collaborated and tried to give his friend an opportunity to shine. Another signee to the Winner's Circle Entertainment label was another fresh face out of the New York drill scene, Eli Frost. He'd had early success in the city with drill tracks like Situations in February 2018 and Gorillas in December 2018. From here, a July 2019 track called Panic 4 saw all three rappers on the Winner's Circle label collaborating together and rapping over a Great John beat. Great John is actually a producer signed to the label, so you know Winner's Circle rappers are never running out of cracking drill beats. Anywho, Sheff G would go on to collaborate with his label mate Eli Frost on tracks like ISO, and officially releasing Eli's single No Adlibs on the Winner's Circle label in April 2020. But the thing is, making big money off of your record label takes a lot more than putting your name in your man's music video's title and printing off a couple of t-shirts with your logo on it. Trap Law Records t-shirts coming soon. So Sheff G and his team were looking to make bigger moves into the music industry proper, and a big opportunity to do so would come in August of 2020, when we would see the announcement of a partnership between Sony RCA Records and the Winner's Circle Entertainment record label. And as their first venture under this new partnership, we would see the release of Sheff G's latest single, Tiptoe, along with label mate Sleepy Hallow. Things were truly looking up on the business side of things for Sheff G and his label. But unfortunately, that very same month, problems would begin to develop in Sheff G's personal life. Having already had a difficult past with the law, with numerous issues relating to robberies, shootings and fights plaguing him all the way back to high school. Sadly, the drama would continue for Sheff G in the early afternoon of August the 21st, 2020, when Sheff G found himself being tailed by law enforcement, and deciding rather than to stop, instead to do the dash, taking place on a reckless high-speed chase in a fire grey Mercedes GLE 63 AMG. And in the process of trying to lose this 2-star wanted level, Sheff G would end up colliding with an innocent woman's car in what was only a fraction of a second away from being a fatal collision for both drivers, with Sheff G's Mercedes tearing off the front bumper of the other car in a hair-raising scene that was caught on security camera. Sheff G would end up wrecking the car after this, losing control of the Benz and apparently skidding 220 feet and crashing into a signpost and some shrubs outside a nearby house. Now, it's unclear whether or not Sheff G was arrested or apprehended at the scene, or if he actually managed to shake off the cops and escape. He would eventually be sued by the other motorist whose bumper he took off, who would later claim in court filings that Sheff G's car was swarmed by police after the crash. However, other reports would surface that there were no charges outstanding for Sheff G in Nassau County where this incident occurred, which on the one hand could be a win, but on the other hand could be even more alarming if it means that that particular incident is being looked into as part of a larger investigation by another organisation. But either which way you put it, this was not a good look for Sheff G. Now let's be real, this looks like a pretty dumb thing to do, especially when your career is going so well in the legitimate music industry. But let's remember, Sheff G had been gang affiliated since a teenager, and the threat of being caught or killed by rivals is a constant. At this stage in Sheff G's career, considering his level of fame, he's likely to be considered a high-value target by his enemies. Therefore, as it would later turn out, Sheff G would in fact be illegally arming himself for his own protection. But the problem is, he's from New York City. With some of the tightest gun laws in America, Sheff G would find him in a situation where protecting himself and bearing arms would actually be a crime, ultimately leaving Sheff G in a tricky predicament. Arm yourself illegally and risk the consequences of arrest or running from the police, or risk your life by remaining unarmed in a city where you know that danger is lurking. That's not an easy predicament to be in, and sadly it would be this very predicament that would soon cause Sheff G to lose everything that he had worked so hard for. But for now, following this insane high-speed chase with the cops, Sheff G and his label mates would regain their focus and continue pushing things forward with the music. Eli Frost dropped big tracks like Miracle and picked up some attention for his politically charged video for the GOAT freestyle, and Sheff G himself would keep his own profile buzzing, releasing big tracks like No Negotiations and Lights On, both racking up healthy view counts. These two particular tracks would end up living on Sheff G's latest tape, the December 16, 2020 release Proud of Me Now. This tape actually released alongside a music video for a track called Mistakes, a surprisingly deep song where Sheff G actually tries his hand at singing a little bit, with this deep introspective song seeing Sheff reflecting on some of his past mistakes in song. In my opinion, this track represented a huge moment of personal growth for Sheff Sheff G as an artist, and in my opinion really opened the door for him to make much more meaningful and mainstream music, going beyond this tough gangster image and showing a more sensitive and self-aware side that has way more mainstream appeal than the gangbanging drill stuff. However, sadly, Sheff G's musical reflections on his own past mistakes weren't enough for him to avoid trouble going forward, because in January 2021, after allegedly making an illegal U-turn, he would find himself being tailed by the police once again. But this time, he decided not to run, and apparently cops stopped him at Farragut Road and East 42nd Street just before 5 p.m. for driving recklessly without a license plate. Then, after a search, cops gained access to a hidden compartment in the vehicle. Here they found a .45 caliber Glock and 9 rounds. And as a result, Sheff G was charged with 3 counts of criminal possession of a weapon and 2 traffic violations. However, in a stroke of luck, he was able to post a $35,000 bond and get back on the streets immediately. This was a bad start to the year for Sheff, having already danced with danger in the high-speed chase with the cops only months before. And unfortunately for him, 2021 would only get worse as the months went on. Because then, on the morning of July the 14th, 2021, Winner's Circle Entertainment signee Eli Frost is also arrested, in this case for a brazen shooting in Times Square, which is quite literally one of the busiest pedestrian areas in the entire world.
An update on this week's gunfire in Times Square. Police have made an arrest. 20-year-old Kumina Elijah of Brooklyn was walked out of the Midtown South precinct late last night. He faces charges of attempted murder, attempted assault, and weapons possession. Police say he fired shots on 41st Street early Wednesday morning after getting into a dispute with another man. No one was hurt.
Eli Frost would miraculously bail out soon after this incident, with more details of the shooting being covered by the media the following day, with the news going on to reveal that allegedly shots had rung out after a collision between a dirt bike and a luxury vehicle that Eli Frost was in Times Square. Eli was accused of firing shots at the bikers from the vehicle and then fleeing the scene. However, the police were able to identify the vehicle, linking Eli to it and finding him the next day. Apparently, he was already out on bail for a weapons charge, where in May, he had been found with a loaded handgun with the serial number scraped off. So in this case, after allegedly letting off 4 shots at some bikers in Times Square, he'd be charged with attempted murder, attempted assault, and criminal possession of a weapon. But according to the Daily Mail, he immediately pled not guilty, claiming that he indeed did clip a motorcyclist in the car, at which point a friend of the biker opened fire, with Eli claiming to have returned fire purely in self-defense. And chances are, because this happened in Times Square, the whole thing was probably caught on video that the feds must have had access to, and it's likely that this footage was indeed favourable to Eli Frost's version of events, because he was subsequently granted $100,000 bail, apparently paid by his label, making Eli Frost a free man once again. But unfortunately, only a day after Eli Frost found himself in hot water, the head honcho of the label, Sheff G, would be having issues with the law himself once again, being taken into custody once again on June the 15th, 2021 on second-degree felony weapons possession charges. It was unclear at the time exactly how or why this arrest had taken place, but if his social media was anything to go by, things weren't looking good for Sheff G's freedom, with Sheff or his team posting to his Instagram story, announcing both that he has a new song on the way and that he was locked up and that he wants fans to say free him. Eli Frost, who had gotten slightly luckier, bailing out of jail only 2 days after Sheff G had gone inside, also posted on Instagram revealing not only that he was now free, but even seeming to suggest that he and Sheff G were in jail together for a brief moment, and in his words, they had the jail on lock from intake. Unfortunately, in Sheff's case, due to the amount of attention that was on him at the time, in Sheff's case, bail wouldn't be an option and he would be remanded in custody. Thankfully, before going away, he'd recorded a couple of high-profile music videos for tracks featuring other big rappers ahead of getting locked up. In fact, only a week after his arrest on the 23rd of July, his song On Go, a high-profile collab with Chicago legend Polo G, released. Then the following month, on August the 18th, 2021, we would see the release of Sheff G's track Run It Up, along with label mate Sleepy Hallow and fellow New York favourite A Boogie with the Hoodie. However, within a few months of this, things wouldn't be looking so good for Sheff G. And in November of 2021, news would break that he had indeed been sentenced to 2 years in prison on a weapons charge, with the sentence apparently being handed down in October, but not making the news for another month, with it only being revealed when the details of a civil lawsuit between Sheff G and the driver of the car that he hit in the high-speed chase became public, with court documents apparently revealing that Sheff G had been handed 2 years in October for getting caught with that Glock in January. A very sad setback for one of the most promising and pioneering rappers and entrepreneurs to emerge from the Brooklyn drill wave. But at least Sheff G's label is holding it down while he's inside. He's still got music videos dropping like this animated one for his track Drum Dummy, bringing him to life even though he can't appear in person for the shoot. And even though the head honcho of the label is inside, the artists on the roster at Winner's Circle have continued to flourish. Sleepy Hallow had a solo Billboard hit with his track 2054 1995, peaking at number 55 on the Billboard charts, and going platinum. Meanwhile, Eli Frost, still miraculously on bail for the Times Square shooting, has continued dropping music all through 2021, with his track Growing Up Gangsta hitting 1 million views in just over a month. And the most recent release from Sleepy Hallow and Eli Frost as a duo, Steppers, dropping as recently as January the 5th, 2022. It's a shame that Sheff G can't be out to see his label mate's success, but with only a 2-year sentence to face, he's already teasing a possible 2023 release. And there's no doubt that the loyal fan base that he had built over the last few years will still be waiting for him when he touches down. Let's just hope that when he does, he can stay out of trouble, focus on the music, and get Winner's Circle Records to the place that it deserves to be. After having one of the most turbulent come-ups in the previous video, 22G's made his name amid a grisly backdrop after catching a murder case in Miami, which he beat in 2017, returning to New York, and having an incredible run as one of the most prolific and pioneering Brooklyn drill artists to ever come out of the city. With his growth online helped in no small part by his highly publicized beef with Sheff G. But of course, more important than the beef is the music. And to me, 22G's ghosty produced mixtape Growth and Development is one of the best Brooklyn drill projects ever released. As much as I love Pop Smoke, this tape is just incredible. His track Suburban Part 2 from that tape ended up going gold, and his 2021 release, The Blicky Tape 2, showed a massive amount of artistic growth and development from 22G's as well, with the opening track Twirlanta having one of the most impressive build-ups and drops I've ever heard in a hip-hop track full stop. With that video racking up close to 9 million views in 9 months, it was clear that 22G's is here to stay. But this project also represented another big positive step in 22G's life, away from just his artistic development. 22G's would actually say in an interview with print-based publication that's distributed in prison, Striped Mag, that the Blicky Tape 2 was actually entirely recorded in Atlanta, where he now resides. This move out of New York was something he apparently did to network and take advantage of the flourishing music scene over in Atlanta, as well no doubt to escape some of the more nefarious and dangerous elements of his past in the mean streets of Brooklyn where he came up. To be honest, there really is nothing better than seeing a drill rapper from a dangerous city or situation moving out of the city where they face the most risk, making a long-term commitment to life and the entertainment career that they've cultivated, and leveling up. Moving out of New York was a smart and mature chess move by 22G's. And from here, we would see more maturity in public from 22 himself. Because only a month after the release of the Blicky Tape 2, in April 2021, during an interview, he actually admitted that he would be willing to squash his beef with Sheff G and leave it in the past.
Is there ever a day where y'all as men, as young men, will be able to have a conversation to iron out the street, or is that just some street that y'all, you gotta stay where it's at?
Yeah, sometimes it be deeper than just the rappers and rap, you feel me? But yeah, that would be, like I was saying in my other interview, that would be 40 years old chasing each other down the street, you feel me? Yeah. It don't make sense, so we might as well start figuring it out from now.
This is one of the most mature things I've ever heard a drill rapper say. Really. Who wants to be 40 years old chasing their ops down the street? Unfortunately for Sheff G, the fear of being chased led to him carrying a weapon when the law did not permit it, and that only continued the cycle. Perhaps if Sheff G had moved out of his city sooner, he might have had an opportunity to avoid this predicament. Anywho, since extending this olive branch, through to the end of 2021, 22G's focused solely on the music, dropping big videos for tracks on his project, with his most recent release Retaliation sitting well over 2 million views in 3 months. So I got no doubt that he's loading something big for 2022, after all it is literally his year. I just hope that he can remain focused on the music rather than the streets. And I gotta say, the August 2021 bust on Blicky Gang affiliates, who had apparently been running a gun racket from Georgia to New York, is a little bit concerning. But 22G's himself has not been implicated. I just hope that he remains focused and on the right track, in the booth rather than in the streets, so that he can continue giving fans the bangers that they want. In April 2020, CoachDaGhost dropped his track Hit List, which got him on the radar of a whole lot of people, good and bad. The music video for Hit List had a whole lot of guns and GD pitchforks. Combine that with lyrics dissing ops, particularly Wu-affiliated Crips like Fivio Foreign, it really seemed that CoachDaGhost was truly fearless when making songs and dissing his enemies. Another early gangbanging anthem of his, which has since been deleted from YouTube, was the incendiary anthem Wu K featuring NVK. Wu K, of course, meaning Wu Killer, a song basically calling to kill every every Wu gang member in the city of New York. This is a dangerous move that is all too familiar in drill music. A trend originally started by Chicago GD rapper Lil Jojo, whose song BDK called for the killing of every BD or black disciple in the city of Chicago. A song which would sadly result in Jojo himself being killed, as I covered in my 300 vs Jojo World video. Anywho, CoachDaGhost was truly fearless when it came to making songs dissing his enemies. Soon after the release of Hit List, Atlanta trap rap legend and fellow body beater Gucci Mane saw CoachDaGhost music, reposted it on Instagram, and said that he was looking to sign him. Soon after this, CoachDaGhost was seen on Instagram wearing a 1017 t-shirt, leading many people to believe that he had indeed signed to Gucci Mane's 1017 Records, aka the most cursed label in rap where everybody he signs is a shooter and ends up in jail. I mean, I guess Gucci Mane does really have an eye for talent, both rapping and shooting. Anywho, apparently CoachDaGhost would actually go on to sign a deal with Atlantic Records themselves, the 1017 label's parent company, apparently with the help of Gucci Mane. This goes to show you just what a serious prospect people in the music industry thought CoachDaGhost was going to be from his music. And after getting tapped in with Gucci Mane and Atlantic Records, he would continue doing what he does best. The September 2020 release of his high-profile 22G's collab track Movie truly put him on the map. A hard drill track with a booming UK-style beat from one of our finest producers, Ghosty, Movie was complemented by dark lyrics where CoachDaGhost claims that he is ready to catch bodies and crash out, essentially meaning despite the fame and success, he is still ready to kill somebody and throw his entire life away over this street beef. Hell, in his Shine freestyle released in December 2020, he actually says, "If my bro is spinning, then I'm spinning too. Bitch, you think this fame is gonna stop me from catching a body? You wish. I'm still catching withdrawals from my last body. Woo K." The problem is, as it turns out, these lyrics might have been a little too real, because CoachDaGhost's criminal past was actually quite extensive. Real name Culture Bermudez, when he was just age 16, he got caught up in a huge Brooklyn gang bust called Operation Tidal Wave, which aimed to dismantle the two Brooklyn street gangs, the Hood Stars and the Wave Gang, with this early 2010s beef actually being the precursor to the Wu and Chu gang beefs that would spawn the Brooklyn drill movement from around 2016. When this bust happened, a 2012 Daily Mail article described it as a gang war that was playing out on Twitter and Facebook, and identifying that Wave Gang members refer to themselves as Wu and Hood Stars referring to themselves as Chu or Cho. Due to his involvement in gangs at such an early age, CoachDaGhost ended up getting 5 years in prison at just age 17. So clearly he has been deep in the streets way before music since young. But despite serving his time and breaking out into the music industry, if his lyrics were anything to go by, he was still ready to kill and crash out no matter what. And on top of that, he was using his successful hit songs as a primary platform to disrespect members of the opposing gangs. He said in Hit List, anybody dropping Cho or Folk, i.e. making gang signs that disrespect his side, are going to get shot and die. He says outright that he's looking for rival rapper Fivio Foreign so he can get to shooting. He says if they find another gun on him, he's facing 8 years, and that when that happens, he's doing the race, and even willing to shoot at the police. And then there's that now deleted track Wu K, where CoachDaGhost and Envy Kane drop line after line about their desire to kill Wu rivals. And in the end, it looked like CoachDaGhost was truly living his raps after all. As the year after signing to Atlantic Records, on March 13th, 2021, a shooting would take place in Canarsie, Brooklyn, where Brian Sannon, aka B-Dot, a 17-year-old hailing from Canarsie, who had been seen making Wu and GD killer hand signs on social media, was walking with a group of friends in a Brooklyn neighborhood, near Farragut Road and East 82nd Street. At some point, a grey sedan pulled up, a gunman jumped out and opened fire at the group. One teenager was shot in the face, another in the leg. They both survived, but Brian sadly did not.
17-year-old Brian Sannon was on a walk with friends near his Canarsie home Saturday morning when a gunman jumped out of a gray sedan and started firing at them near Farragut Road and East 82nd Street. One teenager was shot in the face, the other in the leg. Sannon was killed.
They shot and killed my baby.
There are few losses more painful than that of a mother losing her child.
Now, CoachDaGhost would end up being named as a suspect in this killing, but not until later in the year. And in the interim, he would continue having career success. In June of 2021, dropping his mixtape Ghost Stories, which contained the menacing track Body for Body, including lyrics where he claimed to have stood over dead bodies and continued shooting, as well as a hook inviting the listener to go body for body, i.e. compare how many killings they've done to see who has more. more. But the thing is, behind the scenes, things weren't looking good for CoachDaGhost. Apparently at some point during the year, he had been named as a suspect in the March killing, but remained at large for an unknown period of time. In fact, it's even been suggested by some that follow the Brooklyn drill scene on Reddit that Coach had actually breached the terms of his probation long before he was wanted for this murder, and by mid-2021 he'd apparently already been ducking the authorities for years. His last music video appearance in person was the July 2nd track Suicide Squad, so no more proper music video appearances from here, but being on the run for murder apparently didn't stop him from still going live, previewing new music and toting straps on camera.
Be the murder case!
However, it would eventually be revealed in the media on December the 6th, 2021 that CoachDaGhost had been captured in Georgia, and that he would be headed back to New York to face the murder charge for the March shooting. We'll see how things go for CoachDaGhost from here, and I truly hope he gets the opportunity for a speedy trial. Unfortunately to me, it seems like his story is an example of one of the worst ways that a rap career can go. Coming from a difficult background, facing serious jail time as just a teenager, he truly had a chance to get out and make a legitimate career in the music industry as a rapper. Through his music, however violent it was, had gotten him the attention of some of the most successful rappers ever to do it who were willing to put him on. But if the allegations are true, it seems like he truly threw it all away over a street feud after being given the opportunity of a lifetime. And if found guilty, the time he's facing is going to be massive compared to what Sheff G is facing. And unlike Sheff G, if convicted, this truly would be the end of CoachDaGhost's career. Despite making very dark and dangerous music, he had an undeniable talent and every ingredient that it would take to become a successful musician in the rap game. But the sad truth is, he may well have missed that opportunity completely due to the gang lifestyle that he came up in and his ongoing commitment to it. Fivio Foreign is no stranger to dissing his ops either, CoachDaGhost in particular. In one of Fivio's early hits, Jumpin', back in August 2019, he claimed on the mic that he was a ghostbuster in reference to his rival. In fact, like many of the rappers mentioned in this story, Fivio Foreign made his name dissing rivals early in his career too. In contrast to CoachDaGhost's song Woo K, aimed at all of New York's woo rappers and their affiliates, Fivio Foreign had early success with his drill diss track Blicky in a Box, publicly declaring his intentions to put any members of the Blicky gang in a box, i.e. kill them. However, as Fivio Foreign's star rose, he proved to be one of the most focused and hard-working rappers to emerge out of the Brooklyn drill scene. And from these diss tracks, he would slowly transition to drill music that was more broadly appealing and could be played in a club where girls are dancing. His monster hit Big Drip being a perfect example of this. Today it sits over 72 million views and went platinum just recently, even getting an all-star remix with industry heavyweights Lil Baby and Quavo from the Migos appearing on the song with Fivio. And despite the song's fleeting references to gang affiliations, Big Drip was a track much more suited to a pool party than a shootout. And amid this hype around big drill anthems that people could actually dance to, also massively pioneered by Pop Smoke's incredible catalogue, it would be no surprise that Fivio would eventually catch the attention of Columbia Records, who snapped him up in a record deal rumoured to be worth well in the seven figures in October 2019. But only a few months after getting his deal at the start of 2020, the tragic and unexpected killing of Pop Smoke would leave drill fans mourning and looking for a new artist to carry the flag and deliver party anthems over drill beats that people could dance to. From here, Fivio Foreign would consolidate his fan base and the success of his single Big Drip with his debut mixtape 800 BC releasing in April of 2020. From here, Fivio would end up becoming the go-to guy for big mainstream rappers who wanted to co-opt the Brooklyn drill sound in one of their own songs. In May 2020, he would be featured on Drake's drill crossover track Demons, which ended up landing at 34 on the Billboard charts. This would be Fivio's biggest chart performance at the time, all the while he continued to make and release more mainstream-friendly drill tracks that were less focused on dissing and threatening ops, and more of a fun time party vibe. Another great example of this is the epic Polo G and Kenny Beats collab Bop It that dropped in October 2020, which featured a hilarious and genius bit of songwriting, which kind of uses the kids' button-pressing game Bop It as a metaphor for loading a pistol. It's this kind of under-the-radar gang violence, wrapped up in a seemingly harmless metaphor, and a great beat that made Who I Smoke such a big hit too. Anywho, Fivio's next couple of solo songs, Trust and his self-made freestyle, really cemented him as one of my favourite modern drill artists, as he began picking beats with booming drill drums, but combining that with smooth laid-back melodies. He made what was previously aggressive and intimidating gangbanging music much more relaxed, introspective, listenable and danceable for a mainstream audience. And it was here that I believe Fivio Foreign truly picked up where Pop Smoke left off, broadening the appeal of Brooklyn drill music and showing the whole world that a drill beat could be used for self-reflection and fun, as well as spinning on shoot-em-ups and shootings. However, in spite of his own personal and career development, sadly in the streets, things weren't so good on Foreign's side. As only a few days after his amazing self-made freestyle released, Fivio would end up getting caught in a jam too. When on April the 21st, 2021, at around 7:30 p.m, Fivio would leave his Mercedes G-Wagon running in a no parking zone as he popped into the local city bank. When he returned to his illegally parked car, a police officer approached Fivio asking for his license, to which Fivio asked if he was getting a ticket and begun to walk away. With one police officer waiting by his car, backup begun to follow Fivio, who after being asked to stop walking, began to run towards the modern luxury apartments. In the end, the backup officer apprehended Fivio by the apartment's parking garage, finding on him a .25 caliber gun with a defaced serial number. This was yet another unfortunate case of a New York drill rapper feeling they need to protect themselves with a weapon due to their dangerous past, but ultimately finding themselves breaking the law. And the unfortunate consequence of this is legal punishment and a career setback. And so, at the very height of his popularity, Fivio Foreign would find himself in a New York jail cell. But fortunately, while he was inside, at least his career continued rising without him. Only a day after he was locked up, he would appear on the official remix of UK drill rappers Tion Wayne and Russ Millions' track Body, a worldwide smash hit with Fivio's remix alone racking up a whopping 83 million views in 8 months, and the song itself becoming the first ever drill song to go #1 in the UK. Then only a day after that, Fivio's team went ahead with the release of his new track and video Unruly, again following the now established formula of booming high-tempo drill drums with laid-back melodic or sample-driven instrumentation. Another banger, but fortunately, Fivio wouldn't have to enjoy his success from behind bars for too much longer, because after spending around 2 months and 22 days in jail, on July the 13th, 2021, he would return, announcing his newfound freedom on Twitter. But more W's would only be around the corner for the new king of New York drill, as Fivio's earlier chart record with Drake would be smashed out the water in August 2021 when he appeared on Kanye West aka Ye's long-awaited new album Donda, with Fivio having a show-stealing appearance on by far the best song of the album, Off the Grid, which featured Kanye, Fivio, and Playboi Carti. The track even included a beat switch, moving from trap drums to UK drill-style drums halfway through the song, giving fans not only an amazing, introspective Fivio Foreign verse over a drill beat, but also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to hear Kanye West himself rapping over a drill beat. It was absolute fire, such a good song, and no doubt the fact that Fivio went so hard on this track, leading Kanye West to drop one of the better performances of his entire recent career. Fivio even ended up going viral with a clip of him in the crowd at the Donda listening party, whiling out in front of cameras when he heard his verse on the track on the stadium speakers for the first time. No surprise then that that track went quickly gold with no music video. This appearance made me excited to hear any Fivio feature, and I truly hope that he drops more music with more artists because the streets are hungry for it. I'd say at the moment he's the best in the game, and at his current level, anybody that raps alongside him is simply forced to put in a career best effort. But anyway, from here, Fivio would continue pushing forward with solo bangers too. On the 10th of September 2021, he even borrowed a play out of King Von's book, releasing a storytelling style drill track called Storytime. This track showcased Fivio's next level lyricism, with the one-verse song telling an entire New York drill allegory about a young man who was taken off the streets and put in jail, showing many parallels to Fivio's own experience only months before, with Fivio being pictured in the music video rapping his bars in a jail cell, all while we see the protagonist of the rapped story going to jail for a crime that he did not do, with the song and video's narrative ultimately ending with the young man accepting the rap for a crime that his friend committed, only to find out in jail that his friend had been killed, leaving him serving somebody else's sentence, all for sticking to his principles. And following that hit, Fivio closed out 2021 with a bang. His last release of the year, the November 12th freestyle, Squeeze, was textbook Fivio Foreign. An insanely danceable high-tempo drill beat and a relentless no-hook verse, making it very clear that right now Fivio is indeed the undisputed king of Brooklyn drill, with everyone, especially me, itching for his debut album like a nitty fiend outside of the bodega looking for a fix. But like all of the rappers that we've mentioned in today's story, I just pray that Fivio can stay out of trouble with the law and his enemies, because we already lost Pop Smoke to gun violence, and potentially CoachDaGhost to a long spell in prison. We can't be having another drill legend with this much talent pass on long before they fulfilled their full potential. At the end of the day, all of these rappers come out of some of the most challenging circumstances imaginable, making their names in drill music off of the back of deadly street feuds that many of their friends simply did not survive. It's inspiring to see 22G's, who only a few years ago was looking at life in jail for murder, free, making music and making positive steps in his life away from the street beefs of the past. But at the same same time, it's understandable that the nature of their music and past means that they don't feel safe on the streets. There's no excuse for breaking the law, but it's hard not to sympathise with the likes of Sheff G and Fivio Foreign, both of whom had to sit in jail for an extended period of time for carrying weapons, likely because they felt they needed to protect their own lives from credible threats. The sad truth is, many of the artists who achieve fame through the drill music genre and achieve fame and fortune end up being marked men by their rivals. Boosie said it best when he said that street rappers get fame and their enemies become hypnotized by hatred. And the unfortunate truth is, once a drill rapper becomes rich, famous, and successful, the only truly safe move is to move out of their city. In conclusion, I just want to give a big salute to all of the rappers who I've mentioned today who did their bit to pioneer the Brooklyn drill movement, truly making something out of nothing and getting themselves and their friends an opportunity to make it in the rap game away from the drama. I just hope that all of the rappers that came out of this scene that still have their freedom remain safe, make the right choices, and continue making music that the fans love. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the music. Hope you enjoyed that video and learning about the lives of some of the artists that I find inspiring. Let me know what you thought in the comments below and what video you would like to see on the channel next time. Massive shout out to the patrons for supporting this video. I've actually got an exclusive second channel video coming out for you guys very soon, and I'll be doing some new extended documentaries for you guys in the upcoming months. And you know, Patreon is the only place to get the raw and uncut versions of those documentaries. So I can't wait to show you those. Hope you enjoyed this video, but until next time, people, appreciate you and peace.